And now, Coast to Coast RIA presents the Experts Corner with Pete Asmus. Now, get ready to go make something happen, because in this series, it's all about actionable information with different experts, strategies, and solutions from around the country. You won't be able to help but catapult your life into a new direction. So get ready, because we are about to begin.
And now from Coast to Coast, your host, Pete Asmus.
All right, there we go. Today is April 15th. I want to welcome you guys. My name is Pete Asmus. I'm going to be your co-host for tonight. Tonight's main co-host is going to be Mr. Clint Coons. Clint Coons is an outstanding attorney, and I use that word very, very specifically. See, you thought I was going to say loosely, but I meant specifically, because he's an amazing guy. He lives up in Washington, but he's actually down here right now, and he wouldn't give me his precise location because I think he's afraid I'm going to come and find him, because he's in Palm Desert right now, about an hour away. And so, you know, I wanted to bring him on today, which I think it's awesome, guys. I want you guys to be aware of this. When I talk to you guys on Journey to Success and I tell you, look, I come at you, I don't stop. I'm going to make sure that I'm here for you constantly every single Sunday, right? This is what's awesome about Clint. Clint's on vacation. He's literally on vacation down in Palm Desert. And instead of just hanging out with his family, which obviously he wants to do, he came on and he wanted to go ahead and do me a favor, because I really wanted to get him onto Experts Corner. And this was the first one we had available. And instead of putting me off and saying, oh, wait till later, he came on and did this. So I want to honestly tell you, Clint, I am so grateful that you're here when you are on vacation. And you could be doing so many other things. So I'm grateful for that. Now, the other cool part is, guys, if you're listening on any webinars or podcasts, hey, all this information is going to all be applicable to you now, in a year, in 5 years. Well, maybe 10 years might be a little different, because I'm not sure exactly what Clint's going to go over. And you got to understand that what he does go over, it can slightly change. So one of the cool things that we'll do is we'll also put up all of his information so that you guys can go ahead and reach out to him and ask him some pertinent questions that actually pertain to your strategies. The other thing I wanted to say is, I am not a lawyer. So any kind of advice I'm giving you is definitely not legal. I'm so used to saying that, but Clint, he is a lawyer, so we can ask him everything, and anything he says, we can hold as completely true, right, Clint? Like, if you say it's going to be a green day outside, I know it's going to be green, right?
Didn't you say I was a liar? Oh, excuse me. You said lawyer, didn't you?
No. You did do tonight's presentation is in English, right?
It is.
Okay,
yeah.
good. I wanted to make sure. I know that you are bilingual. I think, what do you speak, 3 or 4 languages at this point?
Right now, I'm speaking prison, because I'm actually coming to you exactly from.
Man, I love him.
That's where most of them belong, anyways, don't they?
I think so. I'm gonna go ahead and turn this over to Clint at this point. I'm gonna give him control of the board, which in turn should give you. Do you have the screen now, right? We should be doing your screen here.
Can you see it?
I can find it. There we go. Yep, there it is. All right, so 5 reasons to avoid a that almost looks like that's a disease there, a SDIRA. Hey, so did you catch the SDIRA? No, man, I took my shots. I made sure I didn't get anywhere near the SDIRA. But 5 reasons to avoid a SDIRA in 2014, or Self Directed IRA, by our Esquire, our Clint Coons, who is our resident attorney when it comes to land trusts and anything talking about self-directed IRAs, land trusts, and a bunch of other stuff. Real quick, Clint, can you go ahead and give them a little bit of a background on you, so that everybody kind of knows who you are, especially, if this is on a podcast and you're listening in April, I want to make sure that everybody has a clear distinction on who you are. Cool?
Sure. I'll talk a little bit about the firm and myself. I am an attorney. I did go to law school, so despite anything he tells you, okay, I did graduate with a law degree from Seattle University School of Law. I've been practicing now for 17 years. Time just flies.
Wow.
And it's been a great road. What really got me started in this area of the law was the fact that I have a real estate background. I grew up, as I often joke, as an indentured servant to my father, who bought a lot of real estate. and I saw the trials and tribulations that he faced when it came to his own investing. And that kind of led me down this path as I was going through law school that I really wanted to focus on asset protection and tax planning, which, by the way, I hope everybody has filed their tax return today. Got that stamp on there so we know that you actually got your return sent in, or at least you have an extension in.
Right.
So, yeah, I know that's important because the
Yes.
IRS is getting more aggressive right now. So you got to make sure you're doing everything right.
Now, is that
But
something that we could talk to you about as well? If we're interested, you also handle uh the CPA stuff?
yeah, actually, our firm, we have not only the legal side, so we have two offices, one in Washington, one in Las Vegas, but we also have a tax practice. One of the things we've been aggressively doing for the past 5 years is building up a tax practice just because we found there was a lot of our clientele and other individuals, real estate investors, that just couldn't find a CPA who understood what it was they were doing. And I mean, it's no wonder because most of the people they were going to, the professionals, the attorneys, the CPAs, they didn't invest in real estate. So they would come in and they would tell them, hey, this is what I have. And the CPAs would go about preparing a return just the same way they've always prepared it, not understanding there are certain things you need to do on a tax return if you're a real estate investor to ensure that you're not jeopardizing your tax status. And so we
Whoa.
built this great practice.
What do you mean? Could you give me a
Oh,
quick example of that? Because that's pretty insane.
oh yeah, simple. Aggregation election. This is a simple one that so many
Oh, that's a
CPAs
small
miss.
word.
Yeah. How many syllables? Um, so when you're investing in real estate, you want to make sure that in order to capitalize on all of the available deductions that are out there and depreciation and losses that come from your real estate, that you're treating your real estate related activities as one activity. Because the IRS has this little 750-hour test that they apply. And if you don't have this aggregation election in place, basically it means you treat everything as one activity. Then when you file your return and you're taking losses, paper losses that is, against your income, all these write-offs,
Right.
they may audit you and they say, hey, wait a minute, did you spend 750 hours per property, Mr. Jones? And of course you're not. I mean,
Right.
aggregate, yes, but not per property. And so you've seen this stance by the IRS in the last several years where they've aggressively pursued real estate investors, and so many of them are being shot down for deductions they've claimed in the past because their CPA just blew it on filing their tax return. So that's an example of things that we find a lot when we're looking at an investor's tax return.
Now, is that something that you can go back and fix? Like let's say I've done my taxes over the last 3 years and I bring them to you. Is that something I can come to you and you can go, okay, you know what? Let's check out what you did and maybe we can work on getting you something back?
Well, it depends on the nature of it. First off, what we're going to do is change your identity, and then possibly we might have to change your gender if it's so egregious that there's
Wow.
no way we're going to get you out of it.
Wow, really? So that's, I mean, at least you guys don't go overboard on solutions. I mean, you guys are really client based. I can
Yeah,
tell.
absolutely. We find creative strategies to a lot of problems that people face.
That is amazing. I will let you continue. Thank you.
Yeah. No, unfortunately, you can't. You can actually go back 1 year, but once that horse has left the barn, there's no getting it back, and so you're kind of stuck there. So
So
we have
then
this
it's
tax
really good to
practice.
make sure that
Yeah.
we get it down now then, right? Moving
It is
forward.
very important moving forward. I mean, this year, I've probably spoken to a handful of people within this past 7 days, and they were talking about their tax returns. And the first question I asked them, because they have different CPAs, they're not using our tax practice because they
Right.
haven't seen the light yet. Um, they've already filed. I mean, that's the biggest mistake people can make is filing early because then it just precludes us from fixing potential mistakes that may have been made on your tax return. And I always tell people, like, wait till the last possible minute to file. There's no incentive, there's no financial benefit for you to be the first one out the door and have your tax return sent in.
There really isn't, is there?
No, actually, if you look at the audit rates, the people who file extensions are least likely to be audited than those who actually file early.
Well, then they're going to love me because I never file on time. I always file an extension.
But you do file, right?
Yes. No, yes,
Okay.
yes. But I do file extensions. Um, but no. Okay, so I will let you get back into your presentation.
Okay. So we also have another side to our practice, which really brings me up to our presentation tonight. It's a retirement planning side. So we have a law firm, we have a tax practice, and we created a financial planning side that has a retirement planning component built into it because we just found that so many people were struggling with how to invest their funds, take control of their funds, because the only solution that seemed to be presented to them was a self-directed IRA. And as we're going to talk about tonight, I mean, we put 5, but there's actually, I'm going to go through 10, and I could go on probably more than 10 reasons why you want to avoid that. But this practice works hand in hand. So all 3 of these services work in conjunction for our clients to make sure that they're effectively reducing their taxes to the greatest extent as possible, paying their fair share, which we believe to be 15%. If anything happens to you and you're sued, that your assets are all protected and the creditor can't take them from you. And then last but not least, when you're ready to finally turn in and quit dealing with all this stuff and you just want to sit back and enjoy the fruits of your labor, that you're not going to get hammered on taxes then. The assets are going to be available for you.
Awesome. Now I want to break in real quick, guys. If you have any questions at all, don't hesitate. All you guys got to do is raise your hand. When you do, I'll go ahead and let Clint know, and we'll pause for a second and we'll address your question. If he's right in the middle of something, I obviously am not going to probably interrupt him in that. So make sure you also write down your question so you don't forget about it. All right. And then I have one already. I have my home I live in and a second home for rent. What is the best way to handle this and put it in a trust, type of land trust, etc.? Can you go over something like that too tonight?
Sure. Do
Okay,
you want me to
perfect.
address it now or
Yeah,
what?
if you want to address it right now, absolutely.
Yeah, well, obviously, with any property that you own, if you want to get some protection, there's 2 forms of protection. One is what I call smokescreen protection, anonymity, privacy. Take the property out of your name, put it in something else. So if somebody's doing an asset search, it doesn't pop. Or if somebody's fortunate enough to get a judgment against you where you didn't know about it and they get a default against you, then they can't take that judgment and then slap it on your assets and you find out about it when you go to sell a piece of property and, oh, they're going to take 75,000 and pay it over to this creditor that you never knew you had. So that is the number one mistake so many people make, is keeping everything in their own name. So I would use a land trust. I would put your rental property inside of a land trust, your personal residence. You could definitely do a land trust, or you could set up a living trust. As long as you set it up the right way, that is, you don't use your own name in the name of the trust itself, both provide a degree of anonymity. And depending on the state in which you live, you can even get even more complicated with that to ensure your privacy. So that's the
You,
first step.
at some point, I think it would be kind of awesome, Clint. Maybe the next one we do on land trusts, like, or
Yeah.
just do on trusts and talk about the different types of trusts, maybe, and what you would do, or what you would use each one of them specifically for. And then we could, what I mean? And then in the next one, we could go over each individual one, right? So we could spend one webinar on a land trust, one webinar on a living trust. I mean, do you have enough information? You probably do, right? To go through that kind of stuff. Does that make
Hey,
sense?
nobody likes to hear myself talk better than me. You bet. I can go on
Oh,
forever.
awesome. Then we will do that. I would love to do that because I think that would be something really interesting for people to really dig in and understand. We do the next one, we do kind of a broad scope of what trusts are and how to use and kind of why you would use each one of them real briefly. And then the following time we go into one, you know what I mean? And then we just do webinars on each specific trust. I think that would be amazing too. So
Yeah,
I
there'd be
I
a
think that
few
would be
trusts we
great.
could cover, definitely. I mean, the thing about the land trust, why I think it's so important that we get a webinar out there on that to all the members and everybody that listens to the show, is that there are a lot of people that come through, they're not attorneys, and they tell real estate investors that utilize a land trust and utilize it in this manner, and you're going to get the following protections. And as an attorney who's been in court and knows how judges react to certain types of strategies, I can tell you that those individuals who peddle, and I use that word specifically, they peddle a product of which they really don't understand how it's going to operate when you're in front of a judge. And so there's a lot of misconceptions out there. And people unwittingly, unknowingly, that is, adopt these strategies. And if it's ever stress tested, I can tell you many times it's not going to hold up.
Because they're not an actual attorney, so they don't know how to put that together and have it played out in court, is what you're getting at, right?
it's going to play out in court, and they use gimmicks. There's so many times I look at these documents that my clients will send me that they picked up at a RIA meeting because this guy came through town, and they're junk. And I said, if you adopt that strategy, A, I'm going to fire you as a client, number one, but B, I'm not going to be there to protect you because it's not going to work the way they represented it.
That makes sense. Well, then let's do that. We will set that up, and that will be our next one. Will be an overview of what a trust is. I think that's exciting, man. So, all right, cool. And then, Mike, if you have any other questions, go ahead and you can raise your hand at a later point, and we can answer those as well. He did say he'd like you to go into a little on both, so maybe we can do a little bit of that, like just kind of breeze over it at the end of this, because really what we were here to focus on are why you want to use your why you don't want to use your self-directed IRA. And I'm excited about what you're talking about, man. And it's funny too, because Ivan and I were talking on the radio today, and we were like, what in the world is he gonna like? Why would you ever dump a self-directed IRA? That doesn't even make sense, because we know that can be such a great thing. So I'm excited. I'm really excited to hear what you have to say about why we're going to dump these things. So I want to, without any further hesitation, let you jump into that now and get excited.
All right. Hey, I can tell you, I mean, this picture
That's my
says
cowbell.
it all. Okay, nice.
Not pigs can fly. I love it.
Absolutely. Those are all little self-directed IRAs. I mean, it's the
They're
big
all
thing out there. Hey, you want to take control of your investments. I mean, you can make so much more money when you're not limited to your broker telling you what to do. And I'm a firm believer in that. And, you know, the stock market, look at it now. Now it's back down again. And I'm sure it's going to be that way for several months. Then it'll go back up. And so you're on this constant roller coaster ride. But you
Right.
know, as a real estate investor, you're building security. You're building long-term financial stability for yourself. And to be able to do that inside of a tax-deferred account or a possibly tax-free account is so much better
Yes.
because the money's just going to compound faster. And so literally, when we talk about pigs flying, tax-deferred accounts, I mean, that's the way to go. So what do we have out there? Well, we have all these guys. I mean, this is just a few of them. You and I both have been to RIA events. That's how we met at the Real Estate Investors Expo
That's
back
right.
in LA in November, and I think I counted at least three or four self-directed IRA companies there. And then when we saw each other in Dallas, there was probably 12
Hmm.
self-directed IRA companies there with a booth pitching everybody. And hey, you're a real estate investor, you know, let's take advantage of those funds that are trapped in your IRA and put it into real estate. And so if you go out on the internet, there are literally hundreds, if not thousands, of groups, companies, individuals who are offering this particular type of tool and telling you the benefits. And what's distressing is that, you know, when you look at the benefits, many people, real estate investors, they hear this and they continue to hear it wherever they go because these companies are out there advertising that they start to think that that's their only option or that is the best option that's available to them. And so, you know, the pitch, it typically goes something like this. You know, do you want to take control of your financial future? And you want to make sure that you're in control of where those funds are being invested rather than having a broker handle them. You know, here's a neat little device that only 2% of Americans are even aware of it, that everybody thinks that you cannot control your IRA, but actually you can. Though typically, I've seen some people advertise that it's used by Warren Buffett to make his billions of dollars, that with this you can invest in real estate and that the income received is either deferred or tax free. And so when you look at it, you go, man, this is so
Oh my God.
easy, is what they're going to tell you. Okay, we know that's not you. There's too much hair there. But the
Yes.
thing is,
Oh man.
oh, going
That
low.
was rough. You know what?
Uh,
Okay, with that statement, Mark wanted to know how much of what you're saying right now with taxes and SDRIs applies to the entire country versus just Washington.
it implies all over the United States. This has nothing to do with state law. This all has to do with federal law. Federal tax law
Okay.
is what I'm talking about tonight. I'll get into a little bit about state law when it comes to asset protection. I'll just briefly touch on that. But these companies, it's all about, you know, telling you, hey, move your money over to a self-directed IRA. It's so easy. You'll gain control of it once your money's there. You fund your account, you roll your existing IRA into your new self-directed IRA account that we're going to create for you. And then all you have to do is go out and find the investment. And when you found the investment, the property you want to buy, then you just request the funds to purchase, and they'll take care of the rest. And when you hear this over and over and over again, it's natural that somebody say, hey, this is the way to go. If I want to invest in real estate and I want to do it through an IRA or a tax deferred account, I need a self-directed IRA because it's going to give me so much ability when it comes to growing those funds so much quicker. And the fact is that I get to manage the investment even makes it that much better. So if you look at it, you see these little visual diagrams that people typically show you, they say, hey, go out and find your house, real estate investor. Then you send instructions to us.
That guy might be a little bit big for that house.
Okay, yeah, well, he found it. He found the house. It's a small house. It's a doll house.
Okay.
And then he sent in instructions to his IRA custodian because, you can't touch the monies in your self-directed IRA, but your custodian's going to handle all this for you. And they're really responsive. And so you'll send them instructions, and then they're going to wire money over to the seller and sign any paperwork to purchase the property. And then the next thing you know, your house that you found is now inside of your IRA, and all the money that starts rolling in from that is completely tax deferred, or if it's a Roth, it's tax free to you. And so you look at this and you go, wow, this is great.
Yeah.
I need one of those tools to go out and invest in. And I believe this is what you've heard before. And
yeah, I'm excited right now.
You hear it all the time, but stop.
What? Holy cow.
Yes.
That scared me right there. That was fast.
All right. So let me put it to you in a different situation. You go out there and you find your house and you decide you want to purchase it, but it's on a weekend. Now, because you can't sign anything with your self-directed IRA and you have to run it through your custodian, you basically have to say to a seller, will you kindly hold on to this house for me? I would like to sign a purchase and sale agreement with you. I'd love to give you some earnest money right down there, but circumstances require that this transaction be handled by my IRA custodian because I'm unable to touch these funds. So I would kindly ask you to hold this for me and I will buy it on Tuesday.
Now you're sounding like Wimpy.
Yeah, I know. Well, that's exactly
I'll
right.
gladly pay you on Tuesday for a hamburger today.
That's right. You picked up on that.
I did. Did you see that? That was pretty sweet, right?
You're quick.
Thank you.
So then you send directions to your IRA custodian on Monday,
yes.
And lo and behold, seller sold the house to another investor.
Man, see, that's
Ouch.
Not fair. But he told me he wouldn't.
I know he did, but somebody came right behind you, and the guy offered him exactly what he was asking for. And so what are you going to do? You're going to wait for somebody you don't even know to put this deal together through IRA custodian? Because I don't know too many custodians that work on Saturdays and Sundays. They hold normal traditional office hours, and depending on which area of the country you're in and where your IRA custodian in, you could be 2 or 3 hours behind or ahead. So these are the problems that real estate investors face, but they just figure, hey, this is just part of the deal. If you're going to invest in your self-directed IRA, you just live with it because what other options do I have? I get
that's the way it goes.
Yeah, invest tax deferred. So what are they hiding from you? Okay, they're hiding a number of different things from you because they don't want to tell you this information because they make money. The thing is that when you open up a self-directed IRA, they're going to charge you a fee to open up that account. And then they're going to charge you a per transaction fee. Everyone is a little different in how they bill you on an annual basis. Maybe it's assets under management. Every time you request something, they're going to charge you a fee for that. So it's all built around these companies being able to build up assets under management so they can then turn around hopefully in the future and sell it off to another company. And they want to generate income along the way. And you've created a mechanism by which they can do that when you create an IRA, roll your IRA over to them. The thing about the self-directed IRA, they don't tell you on the front end is that, as I just showed you, you can't sign any contracts. That's a prohibited transaction. With a self-directed IRA, it's all hands off. If it's your IRA, you can't do anything. You have to let the IRA custodian handle it. If you like to buy properties at auction, okay, it's going to be very difficult for you in a self-directed IRA to buy properties at auction because typically you need to come there with a cashier's check. And that's really difficult to obtain from an IRA custodian. So that's going to preclude you from that type of investing. Purchase agreements can take up to 14 days to complete because you have this constant faxing paperwork back and forth between you, your custodian, and the seller. It just slows the entire process down. So many times you find that deals you thought you were going to be able to close on a reasonable period of time take much longer to complete, and maybe that you have to get an extension and the seller's unwilling to do it because you can't close within the 30 days you had promised initially, since you're buying for cash. Distributions from self-directed or from IRAs in general are not protected from creditors. So when you're
What
ready
does
to
that
start
mean?
pulling this money out, depending on the state in which you live, the IRAs fall under state law when it comes to asset protection and creditor protections. There was a guy in California a number of years ago, like when I was in law school. It was at 97. He jumped in a white Bronco and took off down the I-5 in California, drove down the freeway, and he went to jail. Oh, he went to jail, but he
Some
got
guy,
out.
some random person, you mean?
Yeah,
Yeah,
he
all
used to
right.
run through airports. Then he started running down a freeway in a white Bronco. But
Now
he's a
he's running in
former.
Vegas.
Yeah, he's a former resident of Florida. Now he's a resident of Nevada. Um,
Exactly.
this individual, okay, OJ, he moved down to Florida for a specific reason, and that is to ensure that his assets were protected from the Goldmans when they came after him in the civil suit. So the Goldmans couldn't take anything from him because Florida has some great asset protection laws. One of the things, I'm jumping ahead here since we started the story, is he has a his football pension. Well, because that's a plan that's covered under ERISA, which IRAs are not covered under ERISA, the the plan itself, any proceeds from that are protected from his creditors. So Goldman's cannot get after those assets. If he stayed in California, it would have been the same way. But if he had an IRA, California does not protect it in that manner, whereas Florida would provide those protections. So when we look at IRAs, when you decide to retire, if somebody comes after you, you better make sure you're living in the state that gives your IRA distributions protections from your creditors, because most states do not.
What about
The
what
creditors
about
can go after them.
Phoenix or not Phoenix, Arizona? Because that's a
Is that a
lot.
new state?
Yeah, a ton of people retire there.
I don't remember off the top of my
That's
head. I
heaven's
think
waiting ground, man. I
I
would
know it's
have to
God's waiting
assume.
room. Yeah, it probably does. I mean, I've got all this in my office. We have it all broken down in all 50 states.
Man, that's
Most of you
crazy. I
got like
didn't know that.
Arizona,
That's
Texas,
scary.
yeah, Florida. I mean, there are a handful out there that provide those protections, but most people say, "Oh, your IRA's protected." Well, yeah, why the money's inside of it? It's protected from creditors. The only people that can bust it is the IRS, a spouse, or a child. But then when you start to draw upon it, that's when the creditors can get after that money. So, you
Man.
know, it's one of those things you need to be aware of when you're setting up these plans.
Okay.
Here's another one. I see a lot of real estate investors. They have an IRA, their spouse has an IRA, and they want to invest in real estate together. So they go to one of these self-directed IRA companies and they say, "Hey, can we put these monies together?" The answer to that is no. They're separate self-directed IRAs, individually directed retirement
But we're
accounts.
married.
I know, but you have to have two separate accounts. So that's two fees you have to pay to set it up. So then you each have your own account set up, and each time you want to do a transaction, they're going to double charge you, because they're going to say, all right, well, if you got to put both funds into this one deal, then that's two pieces of paper we have to sign. So that's two fees we're going to charge you. So that's a problem.
Man.
When it comes to setting these things up, you just run up the costs. Limited annual contributions. All
You
right.
know what I
So
want to tell them, Clint? Do you know what I want to tell the IRS when they want to come and touch my money?
hey, hold on, remember, this is being recorded. It's going to be played live or recorded
This is what I
for
want to
internet
say.
distribution.
You can't touch this. You can't touch this. You can't touch this.
That's what I want to tell them,
Nice.
Clint.
You had that queued up, ready
Tell
to
me
go.
that wasn't awesome,
Yeah,
right?
that
You
was
led
good.
me into that. I just have that soundbite, man. You can't
That
touch
is
this. Come on.
nice. So here's what they got. Here's the problems you face. Now, you know what? Like every good businessman or salesman, which, by the way, when you look at most of these self-directed IRA companies, most of the individuals who bring people in are salesmen, and they'll basically tell people anything and everything to get them to come in and set up a self-directed IRA account. I've had clients that come to me, they've set up a self-directed IRA, and they were told that they could assign a contract over to their self-directed IRA. They were told that they could receive a commission when the property is sold if they set up a
Oh,
self-directed IRA. I know, just the basic
no,
stuff
I
that
know you can't
you
do that
know.
now.
Well, a lot of people don't. A lot of people don't, unfortunately.
Yeah, well,
So
with the
they set
self-directed,
these things up.
I mean, the idea behind the self-directed was that you could use it as a hard money lender to yourself, right? So if I use the self-directed as a hard money lender, I could borrow the money from the self-directed, flip the home, then give it back to the self-directed, pay points. Now instead of me paying a hard money lender points, I'm paying my self-directed points. I mean, that was always the way that I alerted. And I mean, you also you couldn't use it, like I think it was with family going to the side, right? Or you could with the side, but not right above or below, or it's something like with the family thing that you're not allowed to pay out, or they're not allowed to get any money in a deal with when it's like that, right? Something like that.
Did I hear you say you're borrowing it out?
No, yes.
Okay, great. So here's what I'm going to do. Figure out where OJ's staying and get yourself an orange jumpsuit and go
Wait,
join
wait,
him.
wait, wait, hold on. What are you talking about, man? What? You're
Yeah, there's a
saying that if
prohibited transaction.
I have an IRA, man, all of a sudden I'm going to jail. I have an IRA, and I don't have one. So that's why I'm this is always what I've been told. I mean, literally over 8 years working for Armando, working for Trump, working for Robert Allen, working for Flipping Boston, working for, I mean, just tons of different people. I mean, that was the whole hook. Like, look, get your self-directed IRA, because when you do that, you can become your own hard money lender. So you could lend the money on a property that you're going to flip. You flip the property, put the money back in the self-directed IRA, but the proceeds, like the flip part, you could take because you were only borrowing, you know what I mean, like on a contract.
Hmm.
Does that, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying,
And
and
what you're
that's
saying is that I'm going to end up with right next to OJ by thinking like that.
that may be a little extreme, the example I use, but I'll tell you what, you will be paying taxes on that transaction. It'll probably blow your IRA up on you, so you'll lose about 50% of it. So you can't do that. But your point is what I'm trying to make is that these people who work for these companies many times will tell people whatever they need to get them interested. Now, there's a few good ones out there. Don't get me wrong. I've run across some that are on the up and up, and they don't employ salesmen that will go stoop to that level
Right.
to entice people to sign up. But by and large, a lot of people have committed prohibitive transactions with their IRAs, and I run into it far too often. And my response is always, we've got an issue that you're going to face down the road, and the best thing to do is take care of it now. And that's what I'm going to show you tonight is how to address that, so you can make those problems go away if you only understood what you're doing wrong.
Got
So
it.
here's what they tell you. They say, hey, do you want to get around these rules? You know you can't touch the money, you can't sign in the contracts. So what we're going to recommend you do is create a checkbook self-directed IRA.
Yeah.
Ooh, new word, right?
Yes, because now I
So you
got the
get an actual
checkbook.
checkbook. Yeah.
Yes. There
What
was
is
a
it?
problem
It's
on
another
Saturday.
entity.
I got the ink. Boom. I'm writing him a check. It's
Hmm.
gone.
You're investing Saturdays and Sundays right now with this strategy because what they're going to do for you is set you up with a second entity. So now you get to pay them another fee in order
Ooh.
to truly have checkbook control. And what that entity typically would be is a limited liability company that's wholly owned by your self-directed IRA, of which you are the manager. So
That's
you
right.
have
A
control
special
over the money.
LLC. Yes.
Special LLC, right? And you're right about that. When you use the word special, the operating agreement has to be drafted in a specific manner to make it compliant to be held by your IRA. And the other thing where I see a lot of people mess up in this is that they go out and create their own LLC and try to throw it into their IRA, prohibited transaction there, or they themselves pay the fee to create the LLC rather than their IRA paying the fee to create the LLC. Because right there, when you set up the LLC with your own funds, technically you've made a contribution of services to your IRA, and that's a prohibited transaction.
Now, I'd like
And
to
so,
point this out. What you're saying right now, and I don't understand if, or I don't know if everybody understands the ramifications of what you're actually saying, which is basically, let's say somebody else tells you to do this and, hey, get into the self-directed. And again, I'm not saying anything bad about self-directed at this point, right? Because I'm still with you guys where I'm still waiting to see where Clint's solution comes into play. But here's what I will say about what he's saying is the fact that, look, when we're talking about things that are legal, when we're talking about staying within the lines of the law, the moment you step outside, you're done. You're done because you've now punctured, or you've now pierced the veil. You've now basically destroyed everything that you've set up. And if you start out screwed up, I mean, it may not like Clint says, right? It may not be a problem up until you go into court. And then when it hits court, you're done. You're done. You have no recourse, and nobody's going to want to touch you with a 10-foot pole because there's absolutely nothing they can do to help you because you did it yourself. And so I think that's the real key behind understanding that, when you go with somebody like Clint, when you go with somebody, especially Clint, who's been in court, he understands what they are looking for. And if he has to take something to court, he doesn't want to lose. So he's going to make sure that he's setting himself up so he has the best possible defense so that when they do come at him, he's able to go, hold on a second. Let me show you this. Let me show you this. Let me show you this. What's up now? And then they just all fall at his knees and go, oh my gosh, Clint, sorry for even mentioning this, right? Something similar to that?
That's really close. Hey, it sounded very eloquent. You did a
Thank
great
you.
job.
I do well sometimes. But I mean, that's what you're saying when you break a chain of custody, for lack of a better term.
What I'm saying is that when you create these things, if it sounds so easy and so simple, like they make it out to be, you might want to question it and wonder to yourself, is it that simple? Who am I receiving this advice from? Are they a professional? Or are they just someone that all of a sudden decided one day, hey, I can make great money setting up self-directed IRAs for people and selling them self-directed IRAs? And you'd be amazed. There is one particular company out there is one of the larger players in the business, and one of my clients who's very well known, I'm not going to mention his name, in the real estate arena.
Sure.
I had to come in and defend him against this individual because he didn't even understand the law when it came to IRAs. He was basically trying to force my client into a situation where he's going to have to pay a couple $100,000 in taxes based upon what he was going to tell the IRS, and he was just flat out wrong.
Wow.
And that's disconcerting when you find yourself in a situation like that, where here's the guy who created the company and they have thousands of people that they've set up IRAs for, and they don't even understand the law.
That's scary.
It is scary. And it's just something that you have to deal with, and you have to educate yourself and understand, yes, you could do what we're showing here. You could create an LLC. You could be the manager of that LLC. You could fund it. You could get this checkbook control, and you can go out and you can buy real estate now on a Saturday and Sunday. And wow, you've solved your issues. It took you a lot of money to get there because they didn't tell you that at the outset, that it's actually a two-step process to do this. Right. That's the follow-up sale. The upsell, hey, right, we'll get them in on this, and then we'll upsell them to that, because if you really want to control it, this is what you have to do. So, as I stated, you create your LLC, move the money in, then you're in complete control. But they're really not telling you the whole story either when it comes to this type of investing. So they're hiding things from you.
What?
Number one, you can't work for your LLC. So this first bullet point I have on here, yeah, you can't lift a hammer. You can't paint a house. You can't rehab it. You can't do anything. Everything that has to do with that property has to be hired and subbed out when it comes to your self-directed IRA. And that's pretty much standard with any type of retirement plan. You cannot provide services to it, but there's a degree of services that is important to understand, that with self-directed IRAs, the bar is much higher. That is, the IRS severely restricts what you can and cannot do regardless of how you set up your structure, your plan. The form over substance is what I'm getting at here.
Right.
That just because you've moved the investment into an LLC doesn't magically mean now you can act just like you would if it was your normal LLC where you're investing in real estate. I recently read a case. An individual set the structure up just like I showed you, and then he started performing the accounting services for his LLC. It had a couple of rental properties in there, so he kept the books. When the tenants were paying it to the LLC, the money was coming in. So he was handling all that. He got audited. The IRS looked at it, and they said, oh, sorry, you engaged in a prohibited transaction. And for the life of him, I bet he couldn't figure it out at first. But what they determined was that when he did the accounting, he was providing a service to the LLC. Therefore, it was a prohibited transaction. Now, that is something he should have hired out to a third party to perform.
Man.
Yeah.
So he's saving money by doing his own accounting and now being penalized because of it.
Correct. Because that's a service. You've increased the value of your IRA by doing that, though. And that's the way they look at it. I know.
Man.
So dealing with tenants, managing your own property. I ran into somebody a couple of weeks ago. I was in South Carolina. Actually, maybe it was 2 months ago. And she set up a self-directed IRA, bought an apartment building, and the company that set it up for her told her that she could manage the apartment building and live in one of the apartments because it was de minimis.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Okay,
I
that
was
I know is not true.
shocked. Yeah, okay, you know that. But this person did it. She was naive. She's just getting in it. She's taking what they told her. And I said, "Do you have this in writing?" Unfortunately, she doesn't because they were never going to give it to you in writing. But that's what it took to close the deal, I think, to get her to move to that self-directed IRA. So there's a problem there. I told her, I said, "You can't be managing your own tenants. You need to get a property manager for this." And she said, "Well, that's going to destroy my cash flow." And I said, "But I'm sorry, that's just the way it is. Managing the property. These are the things that people don't understand about self-directed IRAs, the restrictions that are placed upon them when it comes to working with them. You can't borrow, just like what you talked about. You can't loan yourself money out of your IRA. I hear people tell me, Clint, I've been buying property using debt. I have a self-directed IRA set up, and there are companies out there that will loan you money on a non-recourse basis. So you can go out and buy property using debt inside of your IRA because it's a non-recourse note. As long as you don't personally obligate yourself, it's just fine to do that. But what people don't understand is that when you do it, that is a taxable event to your IRA, and you have to pay taxes every year on the amount of debt that you're using. Now, that's not getting reported. That's a huge ticking time bomb that's floating around out there for real estate investors who've actually utilized non-recourse debt inside of their IRA because they don't understand the way it works. So that's something else, another problem we have with these things. And the last problem I want to bring up is you can't receive 1099s to an IRA, self-directed IRA. It's so difficult because if somebody wants to
And what
1099
does
you, they're
that
going to
mean?
ask you,
How does
well,
that how is that applicable? Because a 1099 is usually right. If I go into a consulting job, I get a 1099, right?
okay, let's
So
say you're
if
a hard money
somebody,
lender. Let's
how
say you're a
does
hard
that
money
apply
lender.
to us?
Oh, depending on the type of real estate you're in, if you're, I mean, I was using the hard money loaning lending as the example. If you loan somebody money, they want a 1099 you for the interest they paid you. So they need an EIN number to fill out on their form. You don't provide them one because you don't have one to provide them. So it creates a big problem for them and their CPA to get that information from you, and it screws up their tax return
Can we dig into that
because
a
they
little
don't
bit
have the
more?
proper information.
What you
Sure,
just
what do you
said?
want to know?
You said that because I think that I understand what you're saying, but I can definitely understand a lot of people listening right now have no clue what you mean. You're saying that when you borrow money from somebody, they're going to want to 1099 you on the interest, correct?
Correct.
Okay,
Correct.
can you explain how that works and why that would happen like that? Why would if I just borrow money from you, Clint, why am I going to get 1099? Why are you going to get 1099? Like how does that work? Why would
Well,
that happen?
so that's how the IRS tracks, because you're writing off that interest as an investment interest expense. In order for them to justify that this interest was in fact due or paid in part from a loan that you used to invest, they want to see a 1099 form recognizing the party that loaned you money, because then they want to go back to that party to make sure that the party who loaned you the money is actually picking up the income on their tax return. So it's a
Okay.
checks and balances.
So what you're
So
saying is if you loan me money, the IRS, and then I say, hey, I paid Clint $10,000 in interest this year, so I want that taken off of what I owe because that was actually interest that I paid. The IRS goes, not a
correct.
problem. And then they come and find Clint and go, Clint, so you made 10 extra grand, right? That's all about, right?
That's what that's about. And the
Okay.
problem for people who use their IRAs, self-directed IRAs, to engage in this type of activity is that all of a sudden the borrowers start hammering them at the end of the year going, hey, we need an EIN. And they just make their life a living hell trying to get that information. They don't know what to do. I've probably dealt with 15 people just in the last 3 months that have been dealing with their borrowers wanting this information. They weren't my clients or calling me up and saying, Clint, what do I do? How do I solve this problem? And really, there's not a good solution for it because they'll go to their self-directed IRA custodian, they'll tell them the problem, and the custodian says, well, that's not our problem. I'm not going to give you our EIN number because we don't want that income attributed to
Right.
us for tax purposes.
Right.
So figure it out on your own.
Here's my EIN. Go ahead and tell them
Yeah.
I'm the one that collected all that money. That'd be fantastic.
Yeah, it just becomes a reporting nightmare. And so the point is this. What you're doing here is you're drawing attention to yourself when you invest through a self-directed IRA, when you have to get a 1099. And part of the strategy with anything is, fly below the radar. Don't stick your head up and say, hey, look at me. If you want somebody to audit, I'm the best guy you can pick out of the bunch because I do
Right.
wild and crazy things. And I get on radio shows and I tell people, hey, I do this with my IRA. I borrow from it.
Right.
Uh, that can come back to hurt you.
No, I didn't say that. Yes, I listen to you, man. Now I feel like the government's going to be tracking me down. No, I get you. I think that's a great point. Guys, right now, just a real quick census. How are you guys feeling about the information that we're putting out here? Is this helpful for you? Do you guys have any questions at this point about what we are saying that you would like answered? If you do, please go ahead and you can either raise your hand and I will unmute you, which I can't imagine, Robin, you not having a question. But if you don't, that's okay. But if you guys have a question, raise your hand. I'll unmute you and you can actually ask Clint live. That's right. You guys can ask Clint live. Man, what a treat that would be. And nobody's getting charged. See, this is what I love, man. We've got this brilliant you have a brilliant attorney here in front of you guys, and you guys have the ability to ask him anything you want about anything. Why would you not want to take advantage of that and get some great advice? So with that, I will let you go back into what you're doing. And yes, I'm getting people are loving it. So continue on, Mr. Clint.
All right.
Monsieur.
So, not that we don't have enough problem solved already with these IRA custodians. Now the IRS is looking at self-directed IRAs. Beginning in 2014, there's new reporting requirements for IRA custodians. See, the service started back in 2011 stating that they were going to target real estate investors, and they're a little slow. And what this all began around, I believe, is that when they went out and they started targeting real estate investors, because of the problems we talked about at the very beginning of the
Right.
webinar with how people report their real estate investments on their tax returns,
Mm-hmm.
they saw, hey, you have IRAs and you're investing in real estate inside of your IRAs. Well, what's going on that side of the equation? And then
Awesome.
they found out they're doing all this, they're making all these mistakes over there. So they went back to the boards, the drawing room, and said, hey, we've got another great opportunity to collect serious revenue. Let's focus on IRAs, people who invest in their IRAs. Now you can imagine these guys sitting around a table, they're going, well, how are we going to figure that out? How are we going to know they're buying real estate inside of their IRAs? Or they have LLC set up, because that information isn't tracked anywhere. The IRA custodians do not disclose that. Well, they figured, I know, why don't we come up with a new form? So audits of prohibited transactions are definitely on the rise, and the way they're going to find out about all these prohibited transactions that are taking place is by using Form 5498. You see this form right here, you may not be aware of it. If you have a self-directed IRA, this is something that your IRA custodian must provide to the IRS on an annual basis. Well, they've changed the form for 2014, and what they changed it to are these two boxes down at the bottom, 15A and 15B. They want to know the fair market value of certain specified assets. So your IRA custodian has to determine what the fair
Oh,
market value of these assets are. Hold on, wait. What are those assets that they're going to tell the IRS? Well, here's what goes into 15B. They want to know if your IRA holds real estate, or does your IRA hold an interest in a partnership, trust, or similar entity? Why do
now
you think
why
they
would
did
they want to
that?
know that?
Yeah, exactly. It's pretty self-evident. If you've
Man.
got self-directed IRAs right now and you're owning real estate in it, you better make sure everything about it is clean. If you have an LLC that's set up in a self-directed IRA, I would strongly encourage you to make sure that it's a proper form of limited liability company to be held by a self-directed IRA, and you weren't the one who paid to set it up. Because if you get audited and now your custodian is turning on you, he's going to be the snitch. He doesn't want the heat. He's just going to turn all that information over. And you know this already because the
Yep.
custodian always takes that hands-off approach. Hey, we're not giving you any legal advice. You could do this, but it's not legal advice. You're on your own. Find your own attorney.
If I were you,
Could
I
do
would do
this.
this, but I'm
Yeah.
not I'm not telling you to do this. Everybody I know does this, but I in
Hmm.
no way am telling you specifically to do this, even though the entire rest of the world does this.
Exactly.
I told him not to I told him it wasn't me, right? I
Yeah.
don't understand. This is so weird. Why
So
am I
this is a
being singled
problem.
out? Um
It's
yeah,
huge.
okay. Now I've got a oh, I thought I had a question here. Wouldn't a trust be able to help some of these issues as well?
No, no, none of it's going to help because the trust has to be disclosed as well. Look at E. Real estate is D. E. Ownership interest in a partnership, trust, or similar entity.
Okay, but I thought the whole point of the trust, right, is that when we because if a trust is inside of that's what
Yes.
we're looking at is the IRA thing right now, right?
We're looking at what the IRA holds. So that your
Okay,
custodian is going to tell the IRS that you hold either a limited liability company, a partnership, a corporation, a trust, or real estate. They're going to say, hey, these are the people who are invested in real estate.
got it.
Yeah. It's sad.
That's targeting big time. And then
Yeah.
then with that information, they can then go down and go, okay, well, these are the people we should look at then, right?
That's pretty sure that's exactly how it's going to happen. So you're going to see audits. You wait, 2016, 2015. Actually, it's going to be more 2016 because the form just changed. That machine is going to crank up. There is a huge opportunity now for the service to find significant sources of revenue amongst people who have been investing in real estate through the self-directed IRAs. And it just amazes me that more people haven't picked up on this. What I was watching, there's a competitor of mine, you all know him, Bill Bronchick. He just run another webinar for self-directed IRAs. And I felt like calling up Bill and saying, Bill, what's going on? I mean, why are you putting people or encouraging them to invest in these types of structures when the IRS is targeting them? And it's only going to end badly for these people. So, I would just be very careful and look for other opportunities, which I'm about to show you. So,
Yeah,
what
that's
should
what I
you
want
do
to
if you've
know.
already engaged in a prohibitive transaction? You need to dump your IRA, and I'll show you how to do that. Common questions I get here, can I pay myself for managing my IRA? No, you
No.
can never pay yourself. Good. How about this one?
Okay.
Test for you.
Okay.
Can I collect rents on behalf of my IRA?
No.
That's right. Well, no and yes,
Yes.
I would say no.
No.
Can I assign a contract to my IRA?
No.
Can I loan money?
No. No. No.
That's right. So these are all the things you cannot do. But everything I listed here are things that I've run into people. They're actually doing these things because they don't know any better.
And we got to fix that with a whip.
And that's what we're going to do here.
Right on.
Yeah, look at this quote. If you
I
want to do
love
something
that.
in your
That's
life you
me.
never heard of, you have to do something you've never done. I thought you would like that. You're that goldfish jumping right out.
I full on. That's me.
Should have put a hat on him.
You should have. Yes, like that great
Yeah.
picture that you have of me, which is so weird. I don't know where you got that from. I hope you show
Oh,
that
that's
later. By
coming
the
up
way.
at the end.
It
So
better
anyways,
come up at the end. Okay, go.
qualified plan. So what is a qualified plan? This is what you should all be doing. If you want to invest in real estate in a tax-deferred environment, you all need to set up a qualified plan that's governed under ERISA, which is the Employee Retirement Security
Oh, that's
Act.
what you were talking about
Uh-huh.
with our friend with the white Bronco.
With
You said
OJ, that's right.
his thing was
You
in
want one of
an
those
ERISA.
plans. His is
See,
an
I
ERISA
listen.
plan. Yeah. Do you understand?
No, but I listen.
Okay,
I can
that's fine.
repeat it.
All right. Here are the types of ERISA plans. Yeah, profit sharing, 401ks, 457, solos, defined benefits. I mean, these are all plans that you can create that many of you don't even realize you can do this. Now, if you have an LLC that you've set up for real estate investing, you can create your own 401k off of it or profit sharing plan. The same plan that your employer offers you, you can have off of any business entity you currently have set up for yourself. You just go out and you
What?
adopt a plan. Yeah, it's
Okay.
that simple. And the beauty of adopting these plans is that you don't have a custodian any longer. You are the custodian, but you're actually called a trustee. You're the one who's in control of all the investments held inside of that plan. And it's so simple. When you create these things, all you have to do is open up an account with, say, Charles Schwab or a bank or a different broker and roll all your cash into there from your rollovers, and we'll talk about that in a second here, and then
Okay.
you have control. I mean, here's what you get. As a trustee, you have the ability to sign contracts. You
Do
can make
yoga?
payments. Yeah, she's flexible. I just want to show you how flexible these plans are.
Dude, they are.
Manage the investments. Okay, you can handle all the accounting. Here's something. I talked to you about handling the accounting with an IRA. The thing is when you have a self-directed pension plan set up, that's your job. You're supposed to do that. That's what ERISA requires of you, to handle all the accounting for the plan. Isn't that cool? The IRS comes after you. You say, but your own rules tell me I must do this. So they can't come after you and beat you on the head for doing the accounting because you're required to do it. You can deal with tenants. You can loan money out of these plans. You can make any permissible investment you want out of your own qualified plan.
Okay,
But
so
typically what I create are solo 401ks or profit sharing plans for my clients.
okay, real quick, let's because as you get through these, I'd like to kind of talk about each slide presentation, just if we have anything, if anybody else has any questions on them, because this stuff is cool now. So what you're saying is, when I go into the ERISA plan, right? I can set that up in I have a company, I can open up an ERISA plan, correct?
Correct.
I need to have a company though to do that, right? If I work for AT&T right now, I there's no way for me to set up an ERISA plan on my own, right?
No, you need to set up your own company. Now, most people, if you're a real estate investor, you have an LLC or a
Correct.
corporation set up. You have an LLC that's holding a rental property. Boom, there you go.
Okay. And
There's your
I'm
company.
just saying that there might be some people that have done this really wrong, right? Maybe somebody owns their own house. Like, I mean, for instance, not that Mike did this really, really wrong, but like Mike owns his own house, right? And then in a somebody had in a God, what is that when you inherit something? He inherited a house, so now he has two houses, right? And
Hmm.
he has a job. He sells real estate as well, but he also wants to be an investor. So if he doesn't have another company set up right now, if you were in that type of situation, what could he do in this? Does that make sense?
Yeah, so what he would do is set up a LLC to hold that second house.
Okay.
And after he has that LLC set up, then he creates his ERISA qualified self-directed plan. Now, once that plan's set up and established, I mean, I direct up most of my clients to Charles Schwab. The reason I do it is because you open up an account under the name of your plan. They fill out this account application form. You send it back. They say, hey, you now have an account with us under your qualified pension plan. And you go, whoa, what do I do with that?
Yeah, that's
Well,
cool.
simple. You have you have IRAs, right? Roll those IRAs into that plan. It's a tax-free transfer. It's just a direct rollover. And now you get all the money, and then now you have the flexibility and the control over
So,
those funds.
oh my gosh. So what you're saying is, I like this even better. You're saying there are people that I've talked to before. They have 100 grand in their IRA, in their whatever, right? And they want to pull it out. They got to take this huge hit and deduction. And it's like, well, look, you either take a deduction and be able to use the money now to build your business, or you don't, and it's going to stay in the IRA. And there's the problem. You're saying you could actually roll that into this and then have access to that money immediately, like we were talking, without taking any of those big hits, right? Is that right?
Well, correct. That's a rollover, but you could do that between IRAs, but you still have to invest inside of the plan. However, we're going to circle back
Okay.
to the issue you talked about earlier about borrowing the money back out. I haven't got there yet. I mean, there's so many benefits to cover with these plans. Uh, you're just going to sit back and go, man, have I been misled or what when it comes to investing?
Yeah, this is
So,
nuts. I think this is so cool, Clint. I am so excited about what we're talking about. And I mean, you really did a great setup of all these things that I thought were true about a self-directed IRA. I mean, you you pretty much kicked me in the nuts with, and then now you're coming back with actual solutions that sound pretty cool. I also have somebody that said, if I quit my job, can I roll over mine into the plan that you are speaking of without taxes or penalty? With
absolutely.
Okay. All
Yeah,
right, there we go.
absolutely.
Oh, I know what you meant by that, Kenneth. Okay. But yeah, so okay, so here we've got to start a job. Now we can start a job. We got to start an LLC. We can start an LLC for 200 to, I don't know, $500, right? So, I mean, it all depends on what state you're in and this and that. Um, but we would want to set up this LLC correct, right? I mean, not just any kind of LLC. Would that make a difference of what type of LLC we started to put the ERISA in?
Well, what it's going to matter is, whether or not you did the set up the LLC right. So one of the things that we'll do before I even create a plan for someone is I'm going to require that I see their documents to make sure that they have a proper operating agreement or the corporation has minutes and an organizational meeting and bylaws. Because the surest way that an IRS can destroy something that you've done is if they find fault in the initial setup process. And a lot of people, they'll go out and they'll file their articles of organization with the state of California. They'll pay their 200 and some dollars and their $800 franchise fee, and that's it. That's all they have is one piece of paper, and they think that they have a business, and they don't. There's more to it than that. But if you've done it right, it's easy to adopt one of these plans so you have this type of control.
Got it. And now let's say Kenneth has an LLC set up, and it isn't right, and he talks to you. That's something you can help people with as well, right? Setting up entities in the correct type of entity that they need.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
we'll go through that, and we'll tell them where his issues lie.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, if you guys have any other questions on this, please ask now. Otherwise, we are going to move to the next slide. And I guess you didn't ask quick enough. All right, perfect. We're on. If you have any other questions, though, go ahead and ask still. And you can always raise your hands. All right.
All right. So I'm just going to talk, just go over what I just said about the checkbook control here. So, here's the situation. You see a house, there's a seller right there, and you've got this account now with money in it, and you want to buy that property. Well, as a trustee, you go to the seller, you enter into the agreement with him. So you negotiate the purchase price, you sign the purchase and sale agreement, you cut the checks, and then you take title back in the name of your plan. Now, I'm using the solo 401k here for the examples for many of the slides. And there's a reason for that I'm going to show you at the end, because I truly think this is the best entity of choice for 95% of real estate investors. Wow. That if you want to have a lot of different options, which you're going to see at the end, it's going to blow you away, this is where you should go. So this is how the control works. And I literally have a couple thousand clients we've set up plans for that are doing just this, investing through their plan. So here's some of the benefits you have with a qualified plan. You talked earlier about borrowing from your IRA to put into a deal, then paying your IRA back. You can't do that. You can with a pension. If you have your pension plan set up, it has a bunch of cash in there, and you need a little money, you can loan yourself money. You can borrow up to $50,000 from your plan. You have 5 years to repay the money back to your plan. And then basically you're becoming your own bank when you look at it this way. So, I run into people all the time. They say, Clint, I got a lot of money in my IRAs, and I have some credit card debt, and I just wish I could get that credit card debt paid off so I could increase my credit score so I can go out there and get a loan to put into this house I've been looking at or get into a larger project. Well, the way you find cash is you roll your IRA into your solo 401k, you take a loan, you pay off that credit card debt, do a rapid rescore, and then bump up your FICO score. Improve your own FICO score by lowering your personal debt that is reported, because you're not going to report the fact that you borrowed money from your plan to the credit bureaus and, again, show them you have all this outstanding debt. So that's an opportunity that people have. Or if you just want to put it into real estate, you can pull $50K out and go put it into real estate. You can do whatever you want. It's your money.
Now,
but the thing is, you have
only
options.
borrow $50,000? I mean, is that your cap?
Yeah, that's the cap. The cap is 50.
Can you start more than one solo 401k then? Because
no,
what if
well,
you
could,
find a property that's $200,000? How do you buy that in a solo 401k?
Well, the thing is that if you found a property that's worth what?
Like $200,000, say.
And you had $100,000 in your solo 401k?
Or no, you had $500,000 in your solo 401k.
And it's $200,000. Go out and buy it in the name of the plan.
Okay, so it said borrow up to $50,000. So that's what I was.
This is you personally. This is you.
Oh, you mean I get that money? Like I can get $50,000 and go buy a boat or go buy a jet ski or go to Tahoe?
Yeah, absolutely. You can go waste it any way you want.
Okay, now I get it. I can use all of the money in the solo 401k though to go buy a house if that's what I wanted to do.
Correct.
Got it. Okay, man, this is awesome.
You see at the top there, it says loan yourself money. I tried to make this really easy.
I don't read well. I got you though.
Kids,
now I'm starting to understand. Thank you.
Okay. All right, here's what else you can do. You can pool accounts. This is huge. Okay, what? I talked about this earlier. Pooling accounts. Now, I know you're probably thinking about swimming pools and stuff like that, but what I'm referring to is this. So you set this thing up, okay? You got your real estate LLC using the example that you provided me earlier. Thank you. You have your solo 401k that's tied to your real estate LLC, and you see you're the manager of your LLC and you're the trustee of your plan. Well, you and your spouse can roll your both IRAs, that is her IRA and your IRA, can be rolled into your solo 401k and be put in one account. And you can control all of those monies. So you could have monies that come from a prior employer's 401k can go in. Your money from a prior employer can go in. Your IRAs that you've been saving for the last 10 to 15 years can go in. So you can accumulate all this cash in one account. So you don't have to worry about separate accounts to invest with.
So where my spouse had an IRA and I had an IRA and we couldn't buy the same house together because we'd be merging accounts, couldn't do that. But here we can throw that one in, mine in, one from my last job with my dogs. My grandma had one. I'm using that one too. I can put in cash money if I want to. I mean, anything.
Yep, anything.
Now, wait, can I put as
You,
much cash in that as I want to? Or is there a limit to how much I can actually,
oh, how much
um,
you can find? I haven't
yeah.
got there yet. You're pushing
Okay,
me.
sorry.
Hold on. I'll
My
give you
bad.
that example in a minute. But let me
Okay.
let me just tell you one of my clients what we're doing right now for her. So in her situation, her and her husband have put in about $450,000. They've rolled over into their profit sharing. It's not a solo 1K. This is a profit sharing plan. And she came to me. She said, my father has about a $500,000 in his IRA, and we would like to get that money into our account. How do I get that money in? Simple. You make him an employee of her LLC. So I said, we're going to make him a manager. Is he going to help you on the real estate? She said, yeah, he's helping us with the investing. I said, so now he can become a participant in your pension plan, your self-directed pension plan.
What?
Once he's a participant, we can now put his $500,000
Stop,
into the plan.
stop it.
And so now they have the close to the million because they're getting into larger projects and they needed that cash. And so now they have it all in one account. It's all combined and they're out there investing. They'd gone to that. This was actually a self-directed IRA rollover that we just crushed. We just told them, hey, look at how many problems you have with the self-directed IRA company. Look what I can do for you. And it was a no-brainer because the self-directed IRA company wanted the father to put his into a self-directed IRA. My clients was in a self-directed IRA. Her husband's
But then
was
you
in a
couldn't merge them.
self-directed
You couldn't
IRA.
buy the same property
You
together,
could
right?
merge them, and he wanted you to create this LLC that was going to be held based upon ownership interest and contribute the money up. And you just added up all the fees. I think the total fees in this whole transaction were going to be about 10 grand, is what it was going to
Wow.
cost him to set it all up. It's like,
That's nuts,
if
man.
you want to spend it, you
This is
can, but
crazy though. Can
you
you
don't
go
have
back
to.
over? You just said that. So what you're saying is I can come in, I start this solo 401k. I can bring my IRA into this or whatever besides personal cash. My wife can come in and bring her retirement plan into this. And you're saying that if my dad wanted to come in and put money into this, I could make him an employee of the LLC of the 40 no, of the LLC, right?
Hmm.
And then
Correct.
he would get his own 401k that we would work with him or whatever, but he could put money in there and then we could merge them together.
Yep.
That's
Exactly right.
crazy. Now, what if they're
Yeah.
not related? Does it even matter? Could it be a
Doesn't
friend?
matter. It's irrelevant.
Irrelevant. Holy cow.
Yeah.
This is awesome, man. This is really awesome.
So now
Okay.
you got all this money.
I
All right.
love it.
So what else can you do?
Money, money,
You want to
money,
ask how much you can
money.
put in? You can contribute up to $52,000 a year to your plan.
What?
So this is based upon salary, though. You got to be pulling salary to do this. But if your business is paying off money to you in the form of salary, you can fund your company with those contributions. You can put money into your plan. And I'm going to show you a different way to do this. But with a solo 401k, you can put in 17,500 yourself. Your corporation can step in and contribute the difference to bring you up to that $52,000. All it requires is that you're pulling out enough salary to meet that. And I mean, if you pull out enough salary, 52,000, you can put 52,000 in. So if you have an active business, this is a great opportunity for you to really fund your plan.
Wow. Man, because you when you talk about like a SEP, you're talking about a $5,000 cap every year. Or I think it might
No,
have gone up
SEP's
a little bit.
52. SEP's 52.
I thought you could only put in five of your own money. 5,000.
No, with the self-employment plan, you can
Oh
do
no, no,
you can go all the way up.
self-directed. Oh, never
Self-directed, yeah,
mind.
yeah. It's all right. That's what I'm here for.
That's why we're getting away from those. Got it.
Now I put on here you can make in-plan rollovers inside of a solo 401k. This is why I like this plan. You can do something called an in-plan rollover, and I'm going to show you that here in just a second. It's called moving assets within the plan. So here's your solo 401k that you've set up. This solo 401k actually has three different components to it. It has a profit sharing, it has a 401k, and it has a Roth. And when you set this plan up and you want to contribute money to it, say that you're pulling out, like I just showed you those contributions,
Right.
you decide which bucket you want the money to go into. You can put it in your 401k side, you can put it in the profit sharing side, or you can put it into the Roth side. So for example, I have a 401k with these three buckets to it set up through the law firm. My wife comes in and she works for the firm, 2 days a week, and her salary, the first 17,500 salary, her salary she draws out, we're putting into her Roth bucket in the plan. So that money goes into that side, so that it is basically it is going to be tax free as long as the government doesn't change anything in the future.
Right.
When we start to pull it back out. So that's really cool right there. You have this flexibility. You don't want it to go in there. You want it to all be tax deductible. Then use your 401k side or your profit sharing side. Now what you have the ability to do is you got 3 buckets of money, and you can invest with all 3 buckets. So you can put it all into one house, and then that house would be split amongst all 3 buckets there. You can move money inside of the plan. So if you want to do a rollover from a traditional 401k into your Roth side of your plan, you can elect to do that. So you can move money from one side of the plan to the other. You'd have to pay taxes on it. Future growth is tax-free to you. So you can do what's called an in-plan rollover. So if you had 500,000, you want to put it in the Roth, you can do it. All it takes is just signing a piece of paper and moving the money over.
This is so
Here's something
awesome.
that I did for my client last year. She had a house. She has a couple of properties inside of her plan. She wanted to move her house over into the Roth side. Well, not quite. You could have done this. You could have moved the whole house over, but we determined what was best for her was that we just move a portion of the house. So now we have a house inside of her pension plan that is owned 75% by her Roth bucket, 25% by her 401k bucket. I didn't have to do any deeds. All we did was make a notation in the plan documentation for the year, and she's going to recognize that for tax purposes on her 2013 return that she made a Roth conversion that year, an in-plan conversion. I mean, just the amount of flexibility you have.
75% of a house in one plan and 25% of a house in the other. And in self-directed, you can't even mingle funds.
I know. This is such a cool plan. That's why I encourage everybody, if you're looking to take control of your money, you got to get a solo 401k set up off your business because of this power it gives you.
It's brilliant. And you can help do all this, right? So, I mean, for instance, what would the point of having 3 different buckets be? Why would you want a profit sharing 401k and a Roth? Why wouldn't you just want it all to be Roth or all to be a 401k? You know what I mean? Like, why?
Because a Roth is limited to 17.5. That's a max contribution you can put into there. So if you're contributing on an annual basis, you want to make sure that if you want to maximize your contributions into these types of plans, then you're going to need both buckets. So I look at things as like this. I'd rather have it and not need it than be in a situation like so many real estate investors are with self-directed IRAs where they need it and they don't have access to it because of the type of plan they put themselves into.
Absolutely.
And so that's what you're creating with this stuff.
And then now what's the difference between 401k and profit sharing? What does the profit sharing mean?
Profit sharing component comes from the business. So the business makes that contribution. It's not coming out of your paycheck. So with the 401k, you're taking money out of your paycheck and putting it into your 401k bucket.
Okay.
With a profit sharing, the corporation is saying, hey, we love you so much for all the good work you did. We're going to put money into your plan for you. You don't see these anymore because they're so expensive to run. But if it's just you don't have employees, I mean, why not? I mean, there's only one pig at the trough in my personal company, that's me. So I'm willing to put as much as I want into there.
Now, we're going to probably get into more of how this works too, right? Like when you can pull it out and how that all plays out.
I hadn't planned on that, no.
No? Okay, that's
here's
awesome.
Here's the rule. I can just tell you real quick. When you want to pull it out, with these types of plans, you can start pulling money out as early as age 55. You don't have to wait until age 59 and a half with IRAs. You can pull it out at age 55, but that's when you look to start withdrawing the funds. So I mean, there's another benefit right there. I didn't even put in the slides.
Oh wow, I thought you were being funny. So you really
no,
didn't plan on talking about it. Okay, so yeah.
I didn't even plan on talking about it. But you're right. That's a benefit.
So if I'm 18, then this is going to be locked up till I'm 55 as opposed to 59 and a half. If I'm 50, you're only talking about another 5. This is like a 5-year savings plan, and it significantly changes your taxes on that money, right?
It does a lot for you. I mean, you really have to look at each person and individually and see what it's going to do for them. But it gives them options that they do not have. If you want to pull money out early, you can pull money out early. If you want to pull money out when you're 40 years old, I can set it up so that we can roll a portion out and you can begin pulling money out early from your plan and not be subject to penalties. I mean, there's ways that we can fix it so that you can have access to it if you want it. It
Man,
only
that is
comes with
so
knowing what
cool.
you're doing.
Are there limits to roll over to Roth if you are a high income person?
There are no longer any limits. There
No
used to be.
longer.
Nope, they got rid of those.
Court, that was for you, bud. If you have any other questions, let me know. Kenneth, wow. Let's see. This is awesome. When I buy a property for cash, I can take 100% equity loan out and then reinvest it in this plan. Could you do that?
No, you couldn't take out a loan from property you currently own and reinvest in this plan because the money that comes in there has to come from other qualified accounts or it needs to come from salary that you're pulling out of your business. So that wouldn't work. But I got a solution for that. We're getting
Okay.
there. There's another way to do it. Okay.
Man,
I just
okay.
want to throw out there. Remember, distributions are protected from creditors. We already talked about that
Oh,
one.
that's right.
How about this? Debt is not taxable to the plan. So if you buy real estate with non-recourse loans, you've got no problems. They will not tax you on those deals. So those self-directed IRAs that are out there that have non-recourse debt on the properties, you got a problem because you haven't been paying taxes. In a pension plan, you don't have to worry about it. It's non-taxable to you. So you can do that all day long
Can you
inside of the
explain
plans.
that, like dumb that down
Yeah,
real quick?
real simple. We'll use pictures for you.
Thank you.
So in this situation, I need $200,000 to buy a
Oh my
piece of
God.
property. So
Okay.
I go out to you and I say, hey, can I borrow $125,000 to buy this $200,000 house? And you say, sure, I'll loan you the 125.
Right.
So when I borrow that money from you, you take back a first deed of trust against the house to secure your investment. My plan's able to buy it, and I'm paying you back every month on the debt service. That debt service would be taxable to an IRA. A portion of that is.
Okay.
Whereas in a pension, it's non-taxable because the pension falls under ERISA where the IRA does not. So it's a tremendous benefit to somebody to have one of these plans if they ever plan to use debt. I mean, there's a lot of good companies out there that will loan 70 to or 60% LTV on real estate, on
Right.
rental residential real estate. So if you want to double down, and leverage your investing opportunities inside of your plan, you're going to go to those companies and borrow that money at very competitive rates now. But if it's in an IRA, you're going to pay tax on that. So it's not going to be so competitive to you. Whereas if you set one of these plans up, it's tax free.
Man.
So I put on there loan is non-recourse. There we go. All right.
And for people that
How
may not
about this?
understand, a non-recourse loan, what does non-recourse mean? I mean, is there
It
a
means that
course
if
loan?
you default, yeah, if you default on it, then the lender can't come after you. Whereas with your traditional mortgage, when you go out and you borrow the money, if you default on it, they can come after you for the difference. Then when they sell the property, if there's any deficiency there, you're personally liable for any deficiency amounts.
How would
Remember
you
back
get
when
a
the
non-recourse loan? When would you get that?
well, you would get that anytime you can. The problem is most people do not get these loans because traditional lenders do not typically offer them because they want security. And the best
Right.
way you get security is hold the borrower personally liable on the note. But people who loan to pensions and IRAs know that they cannot request that of the individual, that would be a prohibited transaction. So they're willing to make loans where they can only look to the property for recovery of their debt obligation. And that's why they will only lend you 60 to 70%. They have some lending guidelines there that you have to operate under they want to make sure that their investment is secured, but
Sure.
it's a great opportunity. I mean, the
Man, that is
market's
so
really
cool.
expanding in that area.
Thank you for explaining that because I think that again, I think a lot of times we throw out words that are big and people just don't understand. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So
Yeah.
yeah, that was awesome, man. Thank you.
All right. You can partner with your plan. So you set up your plan. Hey, why not go into business together? So what you could do is you could create when I say you can't create any of this. Okay, you need an attorney to create this. But yes, you can do exactly what you see here. You can set up an LLC. Let's assume that your pension plan you want to buy an apartment complex,
Okay.
and you have $500,000. Your pension has $400,000, and the apartment complex is eight. So you could move in the 400 from the pension, the 500 from you into an LLC. You split the ownership based upon your contribution amounts, so it's even, or it's based upon how much money you put in, so one side isn't getting a benefit here over the other.
Right.
And then you can buy the property, and then as the rents are distributed back, they get paid back to you, and they get paid back to your plan based upon your ownership percentages. So you can actually go into partnership with your own plan.
Man, that is so cool. And
It
that's not
is. And
something
now
you can do with the self-directed, right? No,
well,
because you're not allowed to benefit from it like that.
well, possibly you could do it, but it's a little more sketchy than it is doing it through a pension plan.
Got it.
And I can tell you with the new 5498, it's not something that I would even touch, given the fact that the IRS are scrutinizing those plans.
And they're literally putting out a ticker for it. I mean, they're tagging it. they're like
Yeah.
putting tags out on your taxes to know everybody that has real estate or businesses, LLCs within. That's just crazy, man. And that, yeah, I
Yeah.
agree 100%.
They don't ask that of pension plans, by the way. So if you're wondering, well, why wouldn't I have to disclose that? Not at all. That is not a disclosure requirement with pension plans. So it's something that's strictly attributed to IRAs, and that's the problem you face. Because remember, pension plans, you kind of get lumped in with all these big multinational companies, the Microsofts, the Avises of the world, who have 401ks, your employer, and so they're not providing the same type of scrutiny on those types of plans like they are with self-directed IRAs. And so you actually benefit by having these set up because you're such a small fish in a huge pond.
Absolutely. That is, honestly, I'm really amazed by what we're doing and what we're going over, because I mean, I understood all of this stuff to some degree, but you're really making it a lot clearer at this point, and I'm understanding why I want to do what you're saying, because a lot of times people just say, well, you just need to do it like this, you need to do it like this, and it's for a lot of us, we need to understand why is it that I need to
Mm-hmm.
do that. I don't understand, because when we can make it clear that this is why this is going to benefit you, and this is how you're going to be setting yourself up, and more importantly, this is how you're not going to be going to jail, this is how you're not going to be audited, this is how you're not going to be in violation of any kind of FCC rules or anything, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, this is what's so frustrating for me is when I get on the phone with somebody who just created a self-directed IRA, paid $3,000 or $4,000 to create their plan, and they realize they made a huge mistake because they weren't operating with all of the information. They made a decision based on a limited set of information because they didn't know what else was available to them. And there's nothing I can do for them at that point. I appreciate the situation they're in. I just wish that, this information was out there and is more readily available, but there's just not the same competing industry you have with self-directed pensions like you do with the self-directed IRAs, because there's just so many people out there peddling those products.
I like us being on the forefront of what you're talking about. I want to get this message out. I want to talk about the pensions because I like talking about things that other people aren't. I like going in a direction where you're like, look, this is better and this is why it's better. And not only that, it saves you an enormous amount of money in all these little fees. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Of course you do. You wrote that.
Because
Yes,
I
thank
wrote,
you.
I
Thank you
know,
for telling me
I
this,
set
Pete.
them up.
This is so weird. Maybe I should get into this. What do you think?
Here, look
Anyways,
at
I'll
this.
stop
All right.
talking.
So you want to break this thing down. I mean, look at the no's and the yeses. Okay. Can you take personal loans from your plan? Pension, yes. IRA, no. Can you partner? Pension, yes. IRA, technically, yes, but it's not as clean. Can you provide services to your plan? Yes with a pension, no with an IRA. Can you receive 1099s? Oh, with a pension plan, you can receive 1099s because you have an EIN number. I have a lot of clients who are hard money lenders, and they loan right out of their solo 401k, and it's not a problem for 1099s because they give the borrower the EIN number that I provided to them for their plan. You can sign on deals so you're in control. You can't do that in an IRA. You can use debt without tax. You have asset protection under ERISA.
I
You
like
can move
that.
assets between accounts. You have multiple funding options inside of a pension. The only thing the pension doesn't have that the IRA does have is IRS scrutiny. So hey,
That's pretty good.
if that's what you're looking for,
then
with
we're
the
not. Then
self-directed
this
IRA.
is not the idea for you. This is not the.
Yeah, I'm
This
not
is not the
speaking to you.
optimal solution. If you're looking for scrutiny, right?
Yeah.
I love it, man. This is awesome. Guys, right now, if you guys have any questions, okay, here we go. Let's see. Court, any ideas of rates approximate for non-recourse loans? Any idea of rates?
I think the group, I think it's First Western. I think they were looking at about 6.75% to 8%.
Okay. Can
Yeah, it was around
from
that rates.
Kenneth asked, can you explain the use of debt without? This is pretty awesome too, man. It's funny when we started, we had like 4 or 5 people on it, and now we've got like 15 people on it. Um, it says Kenneth asked if you can you explain the use of debt without tax?
Yeah, so inside of a qualified plan, a pension plan that I've been talking about, when you borrow money, it's non-taxable. What the IRS refers to as unrelated debt financed income, that when you use debt to make an acquisition that produces income, that income is taxable to the plan itself. So with a self-directed IRA, you're required to pay taxes on any debt-related income sources you have. So if you borrowed $100 to buy something that produces $10 of income for you on an annual basis, then your IRA is obligated to pay tax on that $10 of income because it was the debt that allowed you to get that $10 worth of income.
Okay.
Inside of a pension plan, those rules do not apply. Inside of a pension plan, it's exempt. It's not subject to taxation. So you can borrow money to produce the $10 of income, and you don't pay tax on that income inside of the plan.
Hold on real quick.
Everybody talks
If I
about
borrow that money
unrelated. Yeah.
to make the $10, oh my gosh, you're gonna freak me out right now if I understood what you just said. So I borrowed the money. I borrow $100 from my pension plan,
No,
and
no, no, no.
and
You're borrowing from another party, not from your pension plan. You're borrowing from a third party. So like First Western to buy a house.
okay, and I'm putting that into my pension plan. Oh, I got it.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
I borrow the money from First Western. I get the house. I flip the house, and I make 30 grand on that house, and I pay Best Western back. You're telling me that that 30 grand is now tax free?
If 70% of that property, the purchase price of that property was debt related, then 70% of the income from the sale of that property is taxable in an IRA, whereas in a pension, it is not taxable. But I can tell you what, I have yet to run into a single person who has ever paid a nickel in tax on any of the
You're
debts.
freaking me out, man. You're saying that look, if I could come up with even if I'm paying 70%, let's say that the house is 100 grand and I've got
Mhm.
70 grand in that and oh no, that doesn't work. I have to borrow
You've
the money.
got
So
30
so we
grand in
borrow the
there.
money and I put up the 70% right through them, through Best Western, and then I have somebody else that comes in and puts money in. I'll just use somebody else for separation's sake. So I've got Kenneth who comes in and throws down 30 grand to finish up the property. It's 100 grand. We sell the property, flip it. We make 60 grand in profit, let's say, and we each get 30 grand. He gets 30 grand because he put up 30 grand. So he's doubled his money. That's awesome for him. He's got to pay taxes on that 30,000. My 70 grand that I got through debt, I ended up netting $30,000 and I don't have to pay any taxes on that 30 grand.
In a pension plan, but in an IRA you would.
I know you're freaking. Are you kidding me right now? Because you just said that's $30,000 tax free. I could do that over and over and over again, right?
Absolutely. And that's why you would.
Oh
Not
my
only,
god.
here's the thing about the IRA too that people don't understand is that not only does your IRA pay tax, when you pull that money out, you're going to pay tax on it. So that money gets hit twice.
I know, and this money doesn't get hit once.
Well, it does when you pull it out. You're going to pay
Okay, so
tax
when
on
I
it.
do pull it out, so okay, so it's in the pension plan. Now I take that $30,000 out, which I could do. So let's run through this. So I've got 70. I've got a pension plan, and I borrow the money to do this deal through my pension plan, right? The same exact deal that I just said. Kenneth has given us 30 grand. We make 60 grand on it. That 30,000 goes back into my pension plan, right? It does not get taxed at all. That's the cool
Correct.
part, because with the self-directed, it would. Now I want to
Correct.
get the money out right now. Can I do that?
You can borrow it.
I can borrow it. Okay. But until I'm 55, I can't actually take it out, correct?
Correct.
Got it. Okay. Still awesome. Got it. I
Hey,
love it.
guess what? We didn't say,
Yes.
another thing is like Roth IRAs. Say you want to do this in a Roth IRA, it's taxable. But if you did it in a Roth held inside of a 401k, it's not. So it's a different bucket inside of your pension plan. So it's just so many different opportunities that present themselves when you set up this plan, which makes it, in my mind, really a no-brainer.
Yeah.
I will avoid self-directed IRAs,
By
whatever
the
it
way,
takes.
you've
I
got a
will
bunch of
stay away
people
from it.
telling you thanks. I just want you to know that.
Excellent.
They say, and
Uh,
and and you got a you're awesome as well. I also got, what if it goes from a Roth and then goes back into the Roth? And that I think we already discussed. So Mike, that would
yes,
be.
that, hold on.
Oh,
That's a good question, though. I need to follow up with that one.
okay, hold on. So let me make sure I got that right. What if it's in a Roth and goes back into the Roth?
Okay, so with the Roth IRA, this is the limited exception to what I've been talking about. You cannot, I'm going to repeat this, you cannot roll a Roth IRA into a pension account. You cannot roll a Roth into the Roth bucket of the solo 401k. Now, this is per the IRS's publication. I think it's 579, where they state this. Now, in the tax code, you do not find such a limitation, but it shows you the way the IRS is going to attack any transaction that takes place like that. So we discourage our clients from making that move, and we will not assist them with it because of that. So you have to be careful there when you're dealing with Roths. Roths are going to be stuck. And so when people ask me, is there any situation, Clint, where you'd recommend a self-directed IRA? Yeah, if you have a Roth IRA that's already set up, that would be the one situation. If you want to have access to the money and control it somewhat, then use a self-directed Roth. But traditional IRAs, no, get them out.
All right, hold on real quick. I'm going to unmute you, Mike. So you can go ahead. Did you have a follow up to that, Mike? Your hand is up, and okay. I'm going to go ahead and put your hand back down. And Mike, if you figure out your whole thing and you've still got a question, go ahead and put your hand back up, and I'll unmute you again. Continue on, sir.
All right, so just ask yourself, do you want to have full control over your retirement assets? And that's a
Yes.
question. Yes. How about this one? Do you want to grow your real estate investing in a tax-deferred or tax-free environment?
Yes.
All right. Then it takes 3 easy steps. Number
Woohoo.
1, you need to sign up for a plan. You fund your account with any broker. So once you create your plan, any broker you want to deal with, any bank, okay, you go out there, you get your money transferred in, and then you can begin loaning money, you can begin investing in real estate, you begin doing anything you want inside of your plan because you're the one in control once you've set it up. So what's next?
Oh man. I
You
was
want to
going to
read
say
that?
it.
Go ahead. What was that?
What's next?
Give me a call.
Give you a
Give me a call or
call.
email me. Yeah.
And the phone number is, just for all of you who are listening to the podcast and can't see this, that would have been hilarious. And Clint's just like, yeah, so call, numbers on the
It's on
page.
the screen.
That's right.
It's 253 981 6001.
One more time.
253 981 6001. So that's my direct line. I mean, you can call the 1-800 number and you can ask to be transferred to me, or just call me directly, or you can email me at ccoons@alglaw.com. I mean, I got a website, clintcoons.com. If you go there, you can get my email. But the point is this. If you're interested in creating one of these plans, if you have an existing IRA that you've got problems with it, where you've sitting here listening going, man, I've done that. Oh, man, this is going to happen to me. I'm going to be audited now in 2 years. What do I do, Clint? Well, the simple thing is I've been telling people is you roll out of that IRA and you shut it down. You get away from that thing and you create your own qualified plan and get those monies moved over. Not only will you eradicate, hopefully, those prior problems by shutting the plan down, so there'll be no more reporting on you, especially starting in 2014, where IRA custodians are going to start telling the IRS that you've been doing this stuff. But you're also protected now by setting up under ERISA. We charge $2,000 to set these things up, so it's $2,000 is what I charge to set up a self-directed plan for you off of your business. But as a listener of C2C, you receive a 15% discount. You just have to let me know that. If you email me or you call me, what I will do is I will have my assistant reach back out to you, and we'll set up a time, and I'll give you a free consultation. I will go over your individual situation for you to make sure it's right. This isn't something where you just call in and say, hey, set me up a plan. I won't do that, because I have to make sure that you have the right business set up, number one. And most time people do it. That's not a problem. But I want to make sure you're going to use it in the right manner, that you have the right funds that can be rolled into it, and you're not going to create any problems for yourself by creating it. But I can just tell you that like I said, we've got well over 1,000 clients that we've created plans for, and they're actively using them for their real estate investing without a hitch. It just opened up a new opportunities for them that they didn't realize existed out there, because they'd heard so much about self-directed IRAs, and that was your only option when it came to investing. And truth be told, it's not. And so this is the way to go.
That is awesome. Guys, if you have any questions, you are more than welcome to either raise your hand and you can ask them live, or you can write them down and I will ask them for you. I'm only going to keep this going for another 5 minutes, though, with us talking, if you guys don't have any questions. If you have questions, we'll keep going. But we're pretty much at this point, I think we're done, aren't we, Clint?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
we're now down to the questions and anything like that. I think that this was an awesome webinar. Mike, I appreciate that. Mike said that it was awesome. It cleared up a lot of the questions that he had, and that the information was just on point and outstanding. So, I mean, that's huge. I thought this was a fun webinar, and I thought it got a lot of information out there. So yeah, if you guys, anybody have any questions at all for Clint before we take off, anything you'd like to say, Clint, real quick?
That, research everything, but then be careful what you read on the internet, because there's a lot of misinformation out there, as everybody says. But especially when it comes to legal strategies, many times you'll find that the people who are giving the information are not attorneys. And I don't say that just because I am an attorney. Well, maybe I do, but
well, yeah. Didn't you go through a little bit of training to become an attorney? I mean,
but it's not the training that going through law school that really makes you an expert in any given field. It's what's your passion. I mean, do you really have a significant interest in it? And if so, do you take the time to learn as much as you can about that particular area of the law? And I know you don't have to be an attorney to do that, but then there's that aspect where I talk to people who aren't attorneys that don't understand the way the legal system works. And it's funny. I'm down here. You wonder what I was doing down in Palm Desert this week. Well, kids are on spring break, but it also gives me time. I'm working on another book, and so I was writing one of the chapters, and I addressed this, that there's certain things you can do when it comes to asset protection, tax planning, and there's certain things you should do. And the example I use is, I've had a number of IT guys that I've fired over the years, because I bring these guys into my business, and I have 45 employees, 2 different offices, and we have this network that works with one another from Las Vegas up to Seattle, and our phones run off over the internet, and so that's all tied in. And they come in and they look at it and they say, hey, you've got holes here in this system, Clint. We need to patch this, we need to do this, we need to do that, and I'm going to tie it down here. And what they don't get is that, yeah, that may be really great and all, and you're going to give me this added benefit over here that I really don't have at this point in time. But at the end of the day, you're going to tie it down to the point where I can't run my business any longer. I'm going to have people who can't log into the system. They can't gain access to information. And so you're actually doing more harm to me than you are good. You may provide this benefit where you see it as a benefit, but as a business owner, it's not a benefit to me. And for that, we have to part ways. And I see this with real estate investors, that when you go and you work with certain professionals, they may tell you can do certain things, and it may seem like, hey, that's the best thing to do, but make sure that that professional understands your business and what you're trying to accomplish, because if they don't, at the end of the day, you may run into walls. where you're trying to utilize a plan and you're going in for a loan. It's a classic example that I use, only to find out that you can't get lent. Nobody's willing to push that loan through underwriting because you're so complicated. They don't trust you, and your
Right.
loan packet is confusing to them. So it's understanding all sides, tax, asset protection, but definitely the practicality of what you're trying to accomplish and making sure you're flexible enough in that planning so you can go forward with it.
Now, I got another question here, which is a great question. I didn't even think about asking this. So, typically and I thought it was a little bit more, 2,500, but, and this is awesome. So typically it's 2 grand, right, for your
Mhm.
self-directed plan. What the question is what is the yearly maintenance or legal fees after that for future years?
It depends. It can run anywhere between 375 up to $700 a year, depending on if your plan has to file a tax return.
Okay.
When does your plan file a tax return? If you have over $250,000 in assets, then the plan is required to file an annual 5,500 form. And so that's why we charge a different fee for that. Why do people have to have that, pay that fee to maintain their plan? If the IRS restates your plan, then your plan has to be restated. We have to provide you with the restatements. We do all that, do all the restatements when they require that of us, because these are plans that we've created that are prior approved by the Internal Revenue Service, so that we can offer them to our clients. If you want to take a loan out, that's something that we draft and provide to you as well through your
Oh,
plan, and we
wow.
monitor that. So those are all the services that come along with it. You don't have to use us. That's all included in the first year anyway, so that fee is built into that. We don't charge in the first year, but it's something that on an ongoing basis you may want to use us for, or you can use your local CPA if he understands it to administer it as well. But it is a small cost overall when you consider the flexibility that you get with these plans and the less scrutiny.
Yeah, but I mean, you're going to have the same thing with a self-directed, right? Because
Hey,
every
you're gonna
time
have more.
yeah, I mean, every time you go into it, you're getting hit. I mean, all that stuff is going to happen, right?
Correct. Correct.
Okay, so I mean, it just is what it is. When you look, if it goes from 350 or 375 to 700, once I jump over $250,000, then I think I'm going to be okay with it at that point because I'm going to have income coming in and it's going to justify that offset. I mean, the reality is the reason the money goes up is because there's more to do. And if there's more to do, it means you're making more money. It means you've got more things going on. You've got more opportunities. And I want to share with you guys an opportunity you guys have right now. Clint wrote a book, and in fact, it is awesome, man. It is a great book, and he signs it and sends it to you. It's not an ebook like my cool book. He's got an actual one of those, annoying hardcover things that you can actually put on a shelf
With a jacket.
and it has a jacket exactly. And he signs them and sends it to you. All you have to do is go to c2creia.com/free book and you can download it. That's c2creia.com/free book and you can download Clint Coons' book. He sends it out to you, signs it. I mean, it's just cool. And it's a big book. It's called Protecting Your Assets. What is that book about, by the way?
It's basically all about real estate investing from an asset protection standpoint, and there's some tax planning in there. So I walk you through land trust, LLCs, corporations, situations when you're going to use them, when you shouldn't use them, how they work. It's really written from the standpoint where I take my 3-day workshop and I put it in a book format. So it's just chock full of examples of situations where I've had clients do this and the problems that they encountered versus situations where they were successful. And so it's a good strategy or good roadmap for any real estate investor who wants to learn more about asset protection, what they should be doing to protect their assets. And it's a great entry level into that.
That is so cool. All right. Mark says, excellent presentation, Clint. Thank you very much. As you said, there's a lot of self-directed IRA marketing out there, and it's important to know the rest of the story that they are telling. That's absolutely true, man. Court says, thanks, great info. And there we go, guys. Thank you so much. Clint, thank you. Did you have fun?
I had an awesome time. Thank you
You,
very much
where's
for
the
having me
picture?
on.
Show everybody the picture real fast.
You want me to show? I don't know if
Yeah,
I got
because that
rid of
picture,
it or
I
not.
started crying when I saw that picture. So this is what
Uh,
I told him I was going to start off the show today and say, hey, more, did you put, did you create the presentation in English? Because in the very beginning, when I first met him, Ivan told me that he was a lawyer, and then they started messing with me. So this is what he said. If I said that, he was going to bust this picture out, which cracks me up, man. Oh my God. Okay, get it down.
That's why nobody will let me take their photos.
Loves with the Love's diapers right next to it. Man. All right. Well, guys, thank you so much. Hopefully this made you laugh. That's a great picture. There is again, you can call him at 253-981-6001. That's 253-981-6001. Or you can email Clint at CCOONS for Clint Coons at ALGlaw.com. That's CCOONS at ALGlaw.com. Thank you guys so much for listening tonight. Thank you to my guest host, Clint. We're going to have him back on, and we're going to do the next one will be an overview of trust. And I am really excited about that one. Guys, if you enjoyed tonight's webinar, please help us spread the word about Clint and everything he's doing and what he's got to bring to the table. Help share the Experts Corner webinar and get people to come back on when we're doing this again, because I'll tell you, we love to talk, but even more than that, we love to answer questions. So thank you guys so much. I appreciate it. Have a great time for Easter. Clint, have a great night.
You too. Thanks.
All right, bud.
Bye-bye.